Embrace the magic of autumn with these incredible Dollar Tree fall DIYs that will turn your space into a seasonal masterpiece. Hello my friends, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you're new. Today I will be sharing with you some of my favorite DIYs I have made over the years. From fun pumpkin signs to adorable pumpkin candle holders, these budget-friendly crafts are perfect for adding a touch of fall charm to your home. Join us as I guide you through 12 fabulous and easy to follow DIY projects that will leave your space looking cozy and inviting all season long. Hi guys, Sonja here, and today I'm back with more fall DIYs. These are Dollar Tree DIYs, and I am showing you today how I'm going to use these pretty neat Dollar Tree calendars. They're brand new this year. Our Dollar Tree never actually had any last year like this, so I am excited that I finally got some and I'm able to do some crafting with it. For the very first one, I will be using this truck, but it's actually on the other side is the fall version of this truck, and as well as this round. Now I picked up this round off of Facebook Marketplace, but you can find thinner ones at a dollar store as well, or you can just use a stovetop cover woodwork as well. And I'm going to add a coat of white paint. I am using the Annie Sloan Old White. I'm not going for full coverage, but I will be rubbing this paint in with the rag as well, just to blend it in and thin it out a little bit. This will give it, make the wood show through. And what I'm trying to do is match up the wood paneling that's on the picture. I actually haven't been lucky enough to find these calendars. My sister found them, as well as my friend Sandra. So it was a joint effort from them to get me these calendars. So I thank them for that, because otherwise I wouldn't have any, because every time I go, they don't have any. So once I had the white paint down the way I wanted it, I ended up adding some of this stormy gray acrylic paint as well as black acrylic paint kind of mixture, because I wanted a bit of a darker gray, and I didn't have any darker gray on hand, so I had mixed these two. And I'm going to dry brush it with just a kind of a stippling brush. And if you don't know what dry brushing is, you dip the brush into the paint and then take most of the paint off, so your brush is fairly dry and has just a touch of paint on it. And gently, without pressing, just apply this onto your surface. And I like how we kind of picked up a little bit of the grooves. And then I did end up blending it in, because the white paint was still a bit wet, so it was easy to blend it in. If this is your first time stopping by my channel, welcome. I would love it if you considered subscribing and pressing that notification bell so you become a part of my YouTube family. I have tons more fall DIYs coming your way, and I've already shared lots, so make sure you check out that playlist, which will be linked in the description. So now that the paint had a bit of time to dry, and it did not take very long, I am just placing this picture on and kind of figuring out where I want it cut so it fits nicely. And all I'm doing is just rubbing it so it folds in the places where I want to get it cut. So I finally flipped the picture over so you can see the image that I will be using, and just double checking that everything is fitting on pretty good. And then I'm going to use some tacky glue to glue it onto the board. You could use hot glue if that's what you want, or even Mod Podge. I'm not sure whether school glue would actually work, but you could give it a try. And you want to cover all the edges of this image, because otherwise you don't want any of the ends to be lifting off. And once I had this exactly where I wanted, I pressed it down, and then I continued adding a little bit more white paint because I did find that it was a little bit lighter than the picture, and just cleaning it up. And then I also went ahead again with that dry brush of gray and black paint. If you've been following along, you know how much I love using the truck in my decor. I have one on my coffee table in my formal living room that I just change out things that I put in it, and this will be the first year that I will be using it at fall, because I did get it at Christmas time last year, and I can't wait to decorate it. And you can watch all those decorating videos and how I use all of my DIYs over on my home channel, which is linked in my description box. Once all the bubbles and everything was out and the paint had a minute to dry, it did not take long to do so, I applied Mod Podge over the whole image. And let me tell you, I am so very pleased with the way this turned out. You can't even barely see the difference between the wood and the paper. And if that really bothers you, you can always add a rope border or some sort of a border to the ends. For my next project, I'm using these artist panels. They're wood. I love using these because I think they're perfect for signs or even gluing some of these things onto it. I do apologize for noise in the background. I tried to get away from them, but they follow me, and my dog's chewing on his bone. So the first thing that I did was paint the inside white, and I'm not going for a full coverage. I tend to prefer where some of the backgrounds do show, especially if it's just a plain wood, or, well, this is not really wood. I'm pretty sure it's like a particle board or something like that. I don't even know what it's called. Press board, particle board. And but it still has a little bit of wood grain on it, so I want some of that to show. And then I end up painting it with staining it with my favorite dark walnut stain, and I'm just using a rag for the border, and I think this just gives that framed picture look. And I'm trying to be very careful into this little corners, but I did end up having to fix a little bit with just a small paintbrush and some of that paint. Not a big deal. And don't forget to stain the sides as well on the outside. So once the picture was all done and ready and dried, I took my image, and I am using the same one because in this calendar there were two of this truck images. One was right at the beginning, and then the other one was in October, I think, or November. I can't remember which. I think this one was October. And I'm going to cut the truck to the side to fit it into inside of that frame. I did have to trim a truck a little bit. I think it lost a headlight and a muffler. And then I ended up also, which you will see in a minute, trimming the little dirt ground that I left, or the shadows that I left, because once I cut out the letters, it wasn't very symmetrical with the way things were fitting in, so I ended up getting rid of that shadow there. And for the letters, I just cut them out as close as possible without actually cutting the letters out, because that would be a lot of work. So once I'm happy with where everything is positioned, I am adding some Mod Podge to it and gluing it onto the frame. And by this time, the frame had the time to dry enough for me to do this. And I also apply the second coat of Mod Podge on top right away. I am so happy with the way this frame turned out. I think it looks really cute, and I can't wait to use it in my decor. I feel you can't have enough trucks in your decor. I got an idea from Holly from her humble pie, and she had created something really similar to this, but she was using a recycled coffee container. I am using this glass jar that I picked up at Dollarama, and I am adding a little bead to the top of the lid for a handle effect. And then she also shared some printables on her in her video. I'm not sure if they are hers or they're someone else's, but I will be sharing those in my description box as well, same ones that she shared. And then I'm going to be using some white chalk paint, as well as antiquing wax and some black paint. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is get this jar painted. And I'm going for the rustic look, so I will be painting the jar with one coat of paint. And before I get started on that painting, I'm just going to quickly hot glue this bead to the lid so it has time to cure while I paint the jar. Are you guys ready for fall? Fall is definitely one of my favorite seasons, being Christmas is the first one to create DIYs as well as decorate my home. So I am super excited to be diving in and creating some brand new DIYs here on this channel, and I can't wait to share them with you. I have so many ideas. I just hope I have enough time to share them all with you. Our stores haven't gotten the supplies yet. Like the Dollar Tree doesn't have any fall items. Dollarama has barely any fall items. So I'm just pretty much for now working with things that I have on hand, upcycling old pieces that I no longer want to use, as well as just using up some of the supplies that I had left over from last year. So for this lid, I am going first with the dark antiquing wax, and then I'm going to fill it in with a black paint. You could do this the other way around. I just like the effect that this made the paint, kind of gave the paint with having the wax on first. I was going for more of that wood look to create this, like I said, to create more of a wood look on this lid. The bead that I had hot glued onto the top of it did actually come from my leftover daycare craft stash. I have several of them still left and slowly using them up. If you're stopping by my channel for the very first time, welcome. My name is Sonja, and here on my DIY channel I create tons of seasonal decor DIYs as well as furniture upcycles and treasure makeovers. So if this is something that interests you, I would love it if you considered pressing that subscribe button and becoming part of my YouTube family. Once the glass jar had time to dry, I'm going to glue it, the design onto it, and I'm using school glue. That is what I'm going to use to glue the design on, and then I'm going to blend it in and apply Mod Podge on top of it for that finished look. I love these type of designs. I love using them. If you know from last year, I love decorating with tons of pumpkin in my home. So naturally, a lot of my DIYs are going to be some sort of a pumpkin DIY. I think, like I said, I have over, I think, 100 pumpkins that I decorate with, and I love signs, and I love anything pumpkin, even for food wise. I'm also love the truck, which I will be doing a lot of the DIYs using the not necessarily red truck, but some sort of a truck in my decor. Just a little tip, if you have a screw-on lid, make sure you don't go overly heavy with the chalk paint in the grooves because you're going to have a hard time screwing the lid on. So here it is. I think it's going to look fabulous on top of my fall beverage station, coffee station, and I can't wait to use it. For my next one, I am repurposing one of these Merry Christmas signs that came from Dollarama, and then also I've had this chipboard pumpkin that I made last year, but it came apart, so I'm going, instead of throwing it out, I'm going to repurpose it. Here I'm going to be creating a sign. I'm also going to use some of those garden sticks that I've had left over still from summer DIYs and spring DIYs, and I'm just trimming off the tips and hot gluing them onto the sign. I am going a little bit over the top edge as well as over the bottom edge. That will create almost a little bit of a bigger sign. Because I'm not going to be using those holes on the sides, I am just going to fill them in with a little bit of wood glue just to smooth them out so there is no hole on them. And you want to let this fully dry before you do anything else to the sign. Once my glue has dried, I apply a coat of black acrylic paint, and I want to have lines going up and down, not across on the red part. And then I'm going to do the same technique with a brown acrylic paint, and this will give me almost that wood grain stained effect. Once I was done with painting it, I will let this piece fully dry, and while it's drying, I am just going to cut out the harvest letters, a word out of just a very thick cardstock. This would look really good if you had the harvest wood letters from Dollar Tree, I think, but I didn't have any on hand, and like I said, our Dollar Tree hasn't had any supplies yet, so I am just improvising. And then before, because the paint was still not completely dry, I just went ahead and glued the rope to the back of it for hanging. And then at this time I'm also going to just put my pumpkin back together. That one side did fall off of it, and I used a Cricut to cut out these ovals on the chipboard, so that way that's how I made this pumpkin. If I can, I'll find the video and I will link it in a description box or in the sky as well for you to check that video out if you want to make a pumpkin like that yourself. So here are the letters, here's the word. I am just popping it out using the little tool from the that came with my Cricut machine. I don't need to use transfer tape here because it's just cardstock, and I don't see why you would need to use transfer tape for this. Once I had the letters all popped out, I will flip the sign over and use hot glue to glue the pumpkin as well as the letters on. Now I did get a little bit of blob of I think that was Mod Podge, but I just brushed it on and blended it in. Now when I was hot gluing this pumpkin, because it was a little bit on a bigger, thicker pumpkin because of the chipboard, the edges were curling up a little bit, so I just put a can of paint on top of it and used my hand on the other side just to hold it down until the glue had a chance to cure. And I used the hot glue for the letters as well. And here it is, and I think this is one of my favorite pieces I've made. I really love the way this turned out and then the way it looks. And the next craft or DIY was inspired by Chick on the Cheap. And she had used these little pumpkins that she picked up at Dollar Tree with the lids. Now, like I said, our Dollar Tree doesn't have anything, although if I find them, I will be creating this for them as well. So I used one of these candles, the religious candles from a Dollar Tree, and I just put them in a pot with some water and let the wax melt. This took about 45 minutes, and then once the wax was fully melted, I took out the wick and then I transferred the wick to my pumpkin that I had. This was a thrifty pumpkin, and then I poured the wax in and let it set. And here it is. You can even add some essential oils to it or even food coloring if you'd like. I think this would look really good with those little pumpkins from Dollar Tree, just like she made on little trays or as gifts. On to my next project, and the supplies that you will be needing for this one are some wire cutters, pumpkins, acorns, spray paint. I am using the Hammered by Trimclad, and it is in, I'm trying to see where it says the color. Anyways, I don't see where it says. It's kind of like a bronzy color, and then in white. Then you need some sort of a fall flower. I have chosen to use the mums. And then you need shower curtain rings and some hot glue. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to spray paint the shower curtain rings, the pumpkins, and the acorns. decided to use some of this brown paint, just a little bit of it, to paint the stems of the pumpkin. Not applying too much, just a little bit. I'm going to take the flowers off, and I'm making 6. And I'm also going to use the leaves. So I'm gonna find the middle, and I'm going to apply some hot glue, and I'm going to glue the acorn to it. Apply some pressure, and I'm gonna repeat this for all of them. Now the next step is I'm going to hot glue this to here, and I'm going to try not to burn my fingers. And then I'm going to hot glue the pumpkin to the side. I'm going to hot glue this to the other side. And repeat the same process for the rest of them. Here it is, all completed. I think it looks absolutely stunning, and I am extremely happy with the way it turned out. It looks great with buffalo check, but I'm sure it would look great with any napkins that you have. And it literally cost me, if $1 for a napkin ring. Well, I hope you. For the next project, I am using a round wood circle that I actually gotten off of Kijiji, but you can pick these up at Dollarama for a package of them for about, I think it's about $2.50, but I just had these on hand, so I am using this one, and I'm giving it a coat of white paint that I had separated with some painter's tape, and then I'm just taking some of that paint off so some of that wood grain shows through a little bit. And then I'm going to remove the tape right away and switch it around because the paint is pretty much dry. And I'm going to stain the top and the bottom with my wood stain that I picked up at Dollar Store and more. It's dark walnut. Now, if the white paint isn't completely dry, I would recommend you do wait for it to dry a little bit before you add tape to it. I removed the tape again immediately, and this had given me a really nice straight lines, and I love the way this turned out. I am using some of the ribbon that I had on hand. I had this burlappy ribbon that I picked up last year. I think that came from Michael's, and then as well as the buffalo check one, and then this fall one came from Dollar Tree. And obviously I'm not using the whole roll of ribbon, simply just couple pieces. And I'm folding them in half. Now, I am not a very good bow maker, so just bear with me, but I'm tying a pipe cleaner right in the middle. So I had folded the ends to the middle to create the loops, and then I tied everything together with the pipe cleaner. I am going to be adding a little buffalo buffalo check orange pumpkin that I picked up at Dollar Tree, and I just think this looked so pretty. Now for the ends, I haven't glued the ribbon down yet because I wanted to add some of this willow that came from Dollar Tree as well, and I'm just spreading the branches and trimming them so they're not all too long. And once I have it the way I want it, I just hot glue everything on there so it's nice and secure. I'm not sure what's happening with my lighting right here right now, but I am going to use my permanent marker and just write hello fall. And I'm being a daredevil and just writing it without doing a pencil first, but I figure there's not much I can make a mistake with here. If this is your first time stopping by, welcome. My name is Sonja, and I would love it if you considered subscribing and becoming part of my DIY YouTube community here. We have a ton of fun, and I would love to get to know you more over down in the comments. So please leave me a comment. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and your notification bell. So here it is, and I think this turned out really nice, and I can't wait to use it. You can also add rope to it for hanging. For my next project, I am repurposing some of these signs that I had left over from last year, and I also picked up this pumpkin from Dollar Tree for $1.25, and I am removing the stem of it, or whatever you use to put it into the ground. I can't remember the word for it right now. I'm also removing the rope off these wood pieces, and I'm going to glue them together. I was just double checking that the pumpkin does fit on them. I was pretty sure it did, but I was just making sure. And I'm using hot glue on the sides, and then I'm going to also, for extra security, I'm going to add also just the ends of a paint stir stick that I had left over to the back of it so it keeps it more in place. And as you can most likely tell, I will be using the other side for DIYing. So while that's curing, I'm going to be working on this pumpkin. I love the way this metal pumpkin looked. I think it was a great garden ornament, but that's not what I was using it for. But I did find it a little too yellow for my liking, so I just wanted to kind of make it look a little bit more rustic. So I'm going to be applying some of this brown acrylic paint over the yellow, and then with a brush, and then you're gonna see I'm going to use a rag just to rub it in, and I do this several times until I achieve the desired look that I'm going for. And I also do the same thing with black acrylic paint, and I'm also going to add some of the paint onto the leaves as well, because I did find that they had a bit of like a pinkish sparkle to them, so I wanted to tone that down a little bit as well. And now I am rubbing the paint directly on it with a rag. So here it is. As you can see, I think it looks much better, more rustic than just with the yellow paint. So once this the wood was dry, I turned it over, and I'm going to give a light coat of white chalk paint. And I'm using any Sloan Original, which is a bit of a creamier color. I would love to know if you have been enjoying all of my fall DIYs so far. I have several of them. I will have the playlist linked at the end for you to check out if you have missed some of them. There's tons of new ones, some oldies but goodies as well. So like I said, I would love to know down in the comments if you've been enjoying them, because I have a ton more to come. And I would also like to know if there's anything that you would like me to see me DIY that maybe I haven't done yet. So I used the hot glue, as you saw, to hot glue this pumpkin on, and then I'm going to use this Thankful cutout from Cricut that I did last year, and I never ended up using it, so I am using it right now, transferring it. But as you can see, my L at the end was a little bit damaged, so I ended up taking some blue and black permanent marker and just kind of, because the Thankful is a bit of a dark blue, but I didn't quite have the blue that dark, so I ended up using the black and blue just to create the same look. And then I am just writing B on top of it with the same idea, using the black and then the blue over it, and then I think I did black over it again just to kind of give that dark blue look. I just love how this sign turned out. I think it's so rustic and I can't wait to use it in my decor. Now for this DIY, I am using this kitchen rag that I picked up at Dollarama, and I am going to be making a pillow. Now if you've been here for a while, you know I do not sew. It's like I just can't. I just don't know how. And I've explained my story before. My mom's a seamstress, and it's one of those things that I don't do that she does so well. So I'm using a hot glue gun for this. It is a decorative pillow, so it will not be overly moved around and used. So hot glue gun does a good enough job. So I have added hot glue on the two sides. The folded side doesn't need any hot glue because it's folded, and then I left an open slit in the middle at the bottom just so I can turn it inside out. Now while the pillow is curing, I had cut off a piece of burlap ribbon and just wrote again that hello pumpkin or hi there pumpkin. I can't remember exactly what I wrote. You will see in a minute. It's hello pumpkin. And then I am just going to trim the other side just so it's evenly the letters are evenly spread out on there. And now that the pillow had time to dry and cure, I am going to turn it inside out, and I'm going to hot glue that burlap ribbon, trying to center it as much as I can. And once that had cured, you have to be very careful here because you will burn your fingers, which I do almost every single time I DIY anything. So I'm using this little makeup applicator just to spread it out. It's silicone. And then I am just stuffing it with some leftover stuffing from an old pillow. And then once all the stuffing is in there, pushed into the corners, I am going to hot glue that little opening shut, and you just want to fold the bottom and the top and hot glue it together, and you would never know that there was an opening there. I love making pillows. I think you can never have enough pillows for your seasonal decor, and I love having them, and they can be pretty expensive. This one obviously cost me like $2 to make, so that one is for the win. I will be making a farm fresh sign. Now I had printed this on a mirror image, and I will be painting this with some white paint, and I'm going to be transferring that image onto here. Cross my fingers it works, but we'll see. So I just have some white acrylic paint, and I want to give it a decent coat. This is bamboo cutting board from Dollarama, their smallest one, Well, actually, I do think they have even a smaller one. So maybe not their smallest one. But I think they're great for signs. So I'm going to let this dry before I do anything else, and you want it to dry really well. So this had some time to dry. So for my image, I'm just going to trim it as close as possible. Okay, and now I am going to put some Mod Podge over it. I'm just going to flip it. Want this to dry very well. This had some couple hours to dry, so now I'm going to take some water and brush it on.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain.
Try and take it off by gently rubbing.
Our eyes, we let go of disguise.
You can always fix it, I think, but you definitely want to gently rub it.
Restoring everything within.
You can see my F got a little messed up. Fix that.
Easy, easy on our tiptoes, undercover agents of the other.
I'm being extremely gentle.
Out of sand.
And the longer you wait for it to dry, the better it will be.
We lose track of time, head up high, now we climb. Oh.
I do love the way this looks. I will try and touch up this F a little bit. Hopefully I can without making it look too out of sorts.
Cover agents of the other, beyond gravel, beyond dawn.
I think that's pretty good, and then I'm missing an R here too.
As we go.
Now what I was thinking is adding a little bit of brown to it, but really watered down, and using a rag. I'm just gonna go over here just to wipe it off, just to kind of add a little bit more rustic to the sign.
Dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes. Undercover agents of.
If you don't like, or if you put too much, you can always add a little bit of white. I love layering paint. I think it just adds such a great look to any craft, any project you're working on. So there. I think this turned out really cute. I had picked up this pumpkin from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to remove that, and I'm going to make this hole a bit bigger because I want to put a thicker rope through it. There we go. And now I'm going to take some rags and I'm going to apply any Sloan brown wax and any Sloan dark wax. And now I'm going to use some black wax. Just going to go back to brown wax, and all I'm doing is layering it a little bit, and this is an easy way to give your raw piece of wood, even though I don't think this is really a piece of wood, but to give it a stain. You can do this on a piece of furniture as well, but the only way this would really work well is if the piece of wood was completely stripped of any stain. So I think that's pretty good. I really like the way this looks. I'm just gonna add a bit more on the edges. Now, the next step, I'm going to use one of these signs, and I'm going to use Harvest. And I'm going to give it a little stain as well, just a little bit of brushing. This is not gonna go on very easily because it's just the way it is. Maybe I will actually give it a little bit of paint, black and brown paint. I'm just going to use acrylic paint. Just to show you. Now I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to finish it off once it's dry. So this had time to dry, so now I'm going to just use my hot glue to glue it on. There, I don't know if you can see. And then for here, I'm going to add this rope. There, I think that looks really rustic, farmhousey, and great for my upcoming fall decor. For my next project, I'm using one of these easels that wood easels, or what are they called? The wood artist panels from Dollarama. These are $4, and you can see I used it for something else on the other side, but I'm turning it over and I'm going to just paint a little bit of white just across very lightly. Okay, so now I just wanted to see that the white is everywhere where the Acorn is. So now I'm going to use a gel stain in Spanish Oak by Old Masters, and I'm going to stain the outside. So I'm using this as a stencil. This came from Dollar Tree. There we go. I think that looks really good. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to take this rag that I was dipping and just lightly brush over so it's not so bright. So it almost blends it all in. There we go. Very easy, and it cost me around $5 because I will be using this again anyways for something else. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed these DIYs. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed, and I will see you all in my next video. Thanks so much for watching.